Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Rachel. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. You probably clicked on this video because I'm going to talk today about the brand new seller platform, Whatnot. So I'm a part-time reseller on sites like eBay, Poshmark, and Mercari, and I recently applied and got accepted to be a seller on Whatnot. And I have hosted 2 shows. I've done the shipping for 2 shows. And so I wanted to jump on here and kind of just talk about my initial experience and how it went, and just some tips and tricks for anybody that might also be starting out. So if you're interested to hear my thoughts on Whatnot, definitely stick around. Also, make sure you're subscribed. I post reseller content and tips and tricks about what works for me in my reseller life in general a couple times a week, and drop a like at any point if you find this helpful. So I want you to take this with a grain of salt. This is a brand new platform, and I do think, I'll say right off the bat, I do think that things are going to evolve, and they are going to evolve quickly. So this video is being posted mid-June 2022. And so if you're watching this video later than this, the information may not, or my opinion may not be necessarily exactly the same, but I am going to call it as I see it right now as of today. So real quick, how I got started with Whatnot. I initially had clicked on the website just because I had heard people talking about it, and I wanted to see what it was all about, if anybody I knew was having a live auction. And so I went on the website, I poked around a few auctions for a little bit, and then I decided, people are making sales on here, so I should just try to apply. I have heard that the application process can be lengthy. I'm sure that they have an influx of people that want to sell on the platform, especially because I think they just recently opened up thrifted fashion or like clothing as a category. So there's a lot of people trying to get in to sell. I think they are denying some people or telling you to come back when you have a bigger following or more inventory. I personally did not have that experience. I applied, I heard back from them within, I think it was like 2 days. And then they had me do an onboarding, which is very simple. It's just, you answer a few questions after you watch a presentation about what to expect on the platform. I will say that they did ask for my driver's license. They asked for photos of my inventory. They asked for the links to my social media accounts, so that they could verify that I was a real person. And I respect that. I think that, scams are a real problem in the internet world today, especially when it comes to making sales and monetary transactions. So I appreciate the efforts to make sure that we're all safe and that we're real humans and stuff. The presentation, they did ask that my camera stayed on so that they could match my face to my photo ID, make sure that I was actually the person attending the onboarding, and make sure that I was a real person. So it wasn't like rocket science to pass their test or anything. It was mainly just making sure you understood the basics and you are who you say you are. So from there, a few days later, I was granted access to start my sales, and I had to create a sale, and from there just share it with my social media. So I made a little video for my Instagram stories. I made a video here on YouTube talking about, how I was going live with my first sale. And I held my first sale, I want to say 3 or 4 days after my initial approval. So that was basically it for me. I'm sure I made it sound easy, and it was. Like I said, I know a lot of people have said that they're getting denied or the process is taking a long time because of that, that extensive verification process. They are working through people. There was about 30 people in my onboarding. When I went to schedule onboarding, there were 5 or 6 sessions a day running. So they are working through people. There is a referral program. If you click on someone's link and you don't have an account at all and you're joining as a buyer, that person gets $10 after you make a purchase, and you get a $10 credit to spend. There is also a seller referral where a seller can refer another seller. And once that seller has their first show, and I think, once transactions are completed, I'm sure, I don't know all the exact specifications. But basically, if you refer a legit seller and they have a show and it's successful, that seller gets $200. Now, I do think though that it is very like you are giving Whatnot a good word for somebody. So people aren't really throwing around their, referral code like the affiliate code to where you get $10, because if that person screws up or doesn't make a sale or gets bad ratings, like that's kind of on you. It's very much like how you would refer somebody to an actual like employer, like, hey, I work for this company and I think this person's a good fit. Like you wouldn't just go stand on a street corner and say, who wants a job, right? It's kind of like that. So I did want to clear that up. I know that there's a lot of different information flying around out there about how that referral works. But I was not referred by anybody. I applied on my own as my own person, and I was able to get in based on what I submitted to them. So setting up the first show, I decided I was going to do dresses. Why dresses? I have a lot of dresses. Let's be honest, it's something I was ready to sort of thin out my inventory. I have a lot of summer inventory and we're in summer now and I'm already planning for fall. So I wanted to kind of move out some of the summer dresses I had. So I put on auction about 50 dresses and jumpsuits and rompers. And I did advertise it on my Instagram and on my YouTube. I made a little video talking about my first show. And then what happens is you share your link. So you share your link to the video or to your auction. And then anybody that's already on Whatnot can go in and put it on their watch list. And then they'll get a notification when your show starts. Or if they're a brand new customer, they've never been on the app and they click your link and they make an account, then they get that pending referral. So I had about 60 or so on the watch list when I started the auction. And, a lot of those people found me either through the app or through my link. It's hard to say who found me how or where. But what I did was I tried at first to like take my Poshmark listings and copy the descriptions over on the desktop, which was fine, but you have to take a picture. If you're going to take a picture of the item, you have to take it with your phone. I couldn't find a way to take like an already existing picture and upload it to Whatnot through the desktop. So what I ended up doing was kind of switching gears and taking the photo first. Like I had to actually physically pull. I couldn't use my photos I already took, which was kind of a bummer. But I just took a quick photo of the item. I hung it up on the hanger. I snapped a quick photo. And then I went back in on the desktop and added descriptions. Like after the listing was already made, I could just edit the listing with more text. I just couldn't edit the listing to add a photo once it was already in there. Maybe there's a way to do that. I didn't figure that out, but it worked for me to do it that way. I had a combination of dresses that I already had in my inventory, and then I had also just opened a mystery box. So there were a few dresses in there that I had not listed on any of my platforms yet that I put in the auction. There is a desktop website and a web or a phone app. They both have very different features. So like I have to set up a show through my phone. I can't like set up a brand new auction on my computer. I have to do that from my phone. But then all the shipping and stuff I have to do from a computer. You can't get all your labels and stuff from the phone. So you kind of need both. Setup wise, what I ended up doing was putting my phone on my ring light. And then I had my computer kind of sitting next to me so I could use both. And so I was talking to my audience like on the phone, using my phone camera. And then I was actually starting the auctions from my desktop. So that was bigger. I could see it better. I could find the item. You really need two devices. Somebody asked me on my Instagram how it is managing the show by yourself. I don't know really how I could have done that with just my phone. I mean, I guess it's possible, but there would have been times where I'm walking all up in the camera to press buttons, and that's just weird. It was a lot easier to have my computer right next to me. I was playing music in the background, which is allowed right now. I kind of felt like I was yelling over the music, but everybody said it sounded great. They were calling out the songs that were playing, they were familiar songs, and everybody seemed to be able to hear it and enjoy that. So Whatnot did say in the onboarding that they suggest playing music, and that seemed to work out well for me. The actual auctions, you start the items at what you want to sell it for. So it's kind of a catch-22, and I will talk about who's on the app buying things. I'll get to that in a minute, but as far as just talking about how the auction works, you set the auction start price. And you're talking about the item, you're showing the item, and then you start it and you run the auction, or you run it. People will say, run it, run it, run it. That's what they're talking about. Actually start the auction. So you can set it at whatever you want. I kind of started them at a various amount. Like basically you want to start it at what's the minimum you'll take for it, right? I mean, it seems obvious, right? So some things, if I paid $7 for it and I'm ready to let it go, I'm going to start it at $7. Do I think maybe it would sell on Poshmark at some point? Sure. So you can pay me $7 for it and I'm going to let it go at cost. There are fees on Whatnot, so it's not really at cost, but like how bad do you want to get rid of it, I guess is the question you have to ask yourself. So there were some things I started at $1, either things I didn't feel like listing or things I've had just absolutely forever, like somebody please just take this, right? Or there were some things that I started at like $20. Like if it doesn't sell on Whatnot right now, I'm good with just having it in my inventory. I will talk strategy a little bit later in the video and how do you decide how to price things. So I will talk a little bit more about that. This is just the actual like auction setup right now. So people will start to bid on your item and you'll kind of call out on the chat who's winning. It is very important that you're in the chat, you're active, you're talking, you're reading the text in front of you and kind of interacting with, the people. I mean, it's an auction, but it is a show, and people want to interact with you. They want to talk to you. They want to, just have like a dialogue almost like you would with like an Instagram live, let's just say, where you can see what people are saying to you and respond to them real time. So you're kind of in this multitasking space of like showing the item, chatting with people, interacting, running the auction. And then once the clock goes down to 0, you have a winner, and that person's name pops up on your screen and you can call out and thank them and all of that. So it was very fun. My first auction, I think I auctioned off 54 items and I only had like 12 items left. I sold like 2/3 of what I auctioned off. And it lasted about 90 minutes. And so it went really quick though. And I was tired afterwards. I was so tired. There's no mute button. There's no edit button. You just got to go with it. And it is very fast paced. So it was a lot of fun though. I really enjoyed the interaction, and I'm sure some of you are watching, maybe were in that show, and just to actually talk to you and not, in a way that I can answer your comments on the YouTube videos, but in a way that I can't really interact with you real time. So that was really nice, and it was a lot of fun. I did do some giveaways. The giveaways were fun. Giveaways are going to help you gain followers because they have to follow you if they want to enter the giveaway. So that was fun too. I'll talk a little bit more about the giveaway when I talk about like strategy moving forward, because I'm still learning too. And this is all just from my personal perspective. So the second show I did was shoes, and I kind of did the same thing. I picked a bunch of stuff that were summer styles, stuff that I'm ready to move out because I'm getting ready for fall and stocking up for fall. And I kind of did the same kind of strategy with the pricing. Stuff I was ready to let go of, I auctioned for less. Stuff that I was kind of, thinking I could still sell on Poshmark or whatever, I maybe put my bare minimum a little bit higher. Did I actually make a profit on my Whatnot shows? So the answer is, it depends on how you look at it. So money-wise, if we're just talking money, the answer is no. Both shows, if you take into account the cost of the items I did in the giveaway, the cost of shipping the giveaway items, and the fees that the platform takes, plus my original cost of goods, both shows I broke just about even, if you consider the totality of the situation. So did I make a profit? No, I didn't. However, I sold off a lot of things that were kind of just sitting here, right? Some things that may not have ever sold anyway, whether it be stuff I bought at Goodwill and I've had it for a while and it's just not getting interest on my other platforms. Stuff that I got out of mystery boxes that either I listed and they're beyond the 90 days, so I've already kind of called that box a wrap, or stuff I maybe would have pulled soon to send a thread up or whatever, just stuff I was ready to move out. So I made some quick money on stuff like that. I made a lot of room for new inventory to come in. And what's the alternative? Send that stuff to ThreadUp, which a lot of brands ThreadUp is not taking anymore. I'm not sending to the RealReal anymore, which I'll talk about that in a whole different video. I still need to make that video. So what's the alternative, right? I could run a Poshmark sale. There's no guarantee that stuff is going to sell. That takes a degree of self-promotion as well. So in the totality of it all, I think it was beneficial because I had fun, I gained followers, and I learned so much about how the auctions work. And it really wasn't, aside from the time I spent, it really wasn't a cost to me. I broke even. So I'm going to call that a win. And I think that's great. I think there are a lot of ways that you could lose big time on this platform. From a seller standpoint, one thing I will say, and I'll talk about who's buying a little bit more in depth in a minute, but people are on there looking for a deal. And if you start your auction at $1, you have to understand that it is possible that one person is going to bid $1 because by the time they pay for shipping, it's a lot more than $1 for them, right? And then that's what you're going to get for your item. So you really do have to be careful of how you price your items. If you price them too high, people might lose interest or they might not bid at all. And then you're kind of just on a camera talking, not actually selling anything. So you really do have to find that balance. I think that there are sellers out there that are, they have a very low cost of goods just by nature, right? They have access to the bins or they get a lot of inventory donated. I don't know, wherever they get their inventory. And on top of that, they have a huge following of people, and that helps. It really does, because you have a lot of people bidding and are interested in the items that really was no or very little cost to them. So you do have to take into consideration. And that being said, I will have to switch up my whole reseller strategy if I want Whatnot to be sustainable for me. After the show, first thing I had to do was hurry up and go delist everything that I sold. I was so tired, but I was on such a high, right? And I had to just sit down and just do it. I felt like I got hit by a bus. I had been on my feet for that whole time, just talking, and I'm really introverted. So it takes a lot for me to exert that much social energy, live like that, which is why I do everything recorded, right? It's on my own terms. But this was just a blast. I had so much fun. The energy was amazing. Everybody was super nice and supportive and working with me through my learning curve of just how things work. So what I did was that evening, I just went through and delisted everything that had sold that was listed on my other platforms. You could do this before you have the show. If you're worried about something selling while you're actually live, or if you know you're not going to be able to delist right away. But I just waited until after the show, and, I use List Perfectly. So it's very quick. It was 50 items, so it was kind of a lot, but it didn't take me all that much time. Then when you go onto Whatnot after your show is over, you get shipping labels that are sent to you. And the actual setup took a little bit of work because you have to put in the weight of each item so it knows how much to charge the customer. And the customer does get a little bit of a discount if they do combined shipping. So it combines all the weight of everything that you've sold and puts it, in a bundle for each person. So then you have to package up and ship everything. I did have a lot of bundled sales. The majority of the sales that I made, actually, people bought more than one item. I think at least like 2/3 or more were more than one item in a bundle, which is great because it makes it easier to ship, and they got a discount on the bundled shipping. So I think bundling is the way to go if you're gonna shop. Like, why wouldn't you, right? But I was shipping out 50 items in one day, and I had my auction on a Sunday night. So this was Monday morning. When I did the dresses, I was shipping out a lot of items at once. It was much more than what I would normally have on a Monday morning. And on top of that, I had my normal weekend sales, which I did kind of pre-plan for that a little bit and took care of a lot of that before the show. But there was still some sales that came in from my other platforms. And so it did take a long time to ship. And so just if you're going to sell on there, keep that in mind. If you auction 100 items in a show, you are going to have to ship 100 items or however many of those items sold the next day. So do keep that in mind. From there, you get your payout once the item is received and they acknowledge they received the item. I just now today, so I had my first auction on Sunday and today is Thursday. And just this morning, I started getting payouts in my account. And then you can withdraw to PayPal or a bank account, similar to the other platforms. The buyers do have the ability to rate you based on the packaging and the item and if it was described, just like any other platform. There is at some point, after you sell a certain dollar amount or a certain number of items, you get your payouts right away. I'm not at that point. Maybe someday I will be, but you do kind of have to wait for that to all go through. I am still trying to figure out the exact structure of the fees that they take. I know it's 8% plus 2.9% plus 30 cents, but it says per item, but then I have a lot of bundles, so I'm not sure if it did per item or per transaction. I haven't figured all that out yet. Just know that what they did was give me my portion of it in my little bucket that I have, and then they kept their portion of it, like they deducted that before they gave it to me. That is how it looks. So overall experience with selling so far so good. I will have to switch up my strategy. And I've learned a lot about what other people are doing just by popping into other people's auctions. So I am going to talk about that next. So let me talk about what other people are doing. And here's the thing. Again, the platform is going to keep changing because it's so new and it's exploding right now. And I want you to take this with a grain of salt. I am very much beat to my own reseller drum. I don't have a tight-knit group of reseller friends that I rely on. I kind of just mind my own business. When I say things about other resellers, I'm not saying them to put down anybody else for doing it differently than me. I'm just stating my observations. More power to people finding the strategy that works for them. So let me just put that out there first. But one thing I will say that I noticed when I'm popping into other people's groups, other people's auctions, especially those that have a lot of people in them, because let's be honest, you're a brand new seller, you pop on the app and you see there's a live auction going on and it has 300 people watching. And you're like, oh my goodness, I need to know what this person is doing, that they have 300 people in their auction bidding, right? So a couple things that I've noticed. Number one, people have I don't want to call them cliques, but groups of resellers that know each other, that kind of jump around to each other's shows, and they're moderating for each other, and they're in each other's chats, and they are even at some times bidding on items, which is great. I think having a group of resellers that support you is phenomenal. But just know that if you're going into that group as a buyer, there is a lot of that going on. And I'm not saying that people are bidding up on purpose to make their friends make more money, but it could be. It could be false demand. Also, no, it is a lot of resellers, right? I think it is. And to answer the question, do you need a following? The answer is kind of yes and no, because here's the thing. Right now, there are a lot of resellers that are buyers because they want to be sellers, but they're not approved yet. So what are they doing? They're in the chats. They're looking for the groups that have lots of people in them. They're commenting, they're buying so that their name gets out there, right? So that people follow them, so that people will interact with them when they do their first show. So, I mean, again, there's nothing wrong with that. Just when you're in there and you first see that and you're like, oh, this person's really, really successful, you do have to think about it in the long term. Are other resellers going to continue popping on all day to other people's chats or auctions? Do you have that kind of group of resellers that's willing to do that for you? Maybe you do, and that's great. And are these people that are buying actually like long-term buyers, or are they just resellers either trying to support other resellers to get their name out there, or maybe they're on there trying to source and see what other resellers are selling so that they can get the items and resell them themselves. So I do want you to take that with a grain of salt. A lot of the buyers right now are not really buyers. They are buying, but they're not the people that are going to buy long term. So as time goes on, are those same people going to buy as there's more sellers on the platform, I guess is what I'm saying. Because those people, they kind of put in their time of being a buyer and now they're a seller and they're not buying anything. So as people get approved, though, there will be more sellers, I think, than buyers, at least for now. It's going to be a pendulum, but I think the wild success that some people are having is not necessarily sustainable in the long term for that reason. Again, this is just my experience. This is not, take this information with a grain of salt. This is just what I've seen so far. I do think it's important that if you want to get followers, that you do this, that you go in and you at least interact with other people, chat with other people, follow other people, and you do have to sort of build that kind of community, which I've been trying to do on there, and just support anybody that supported me. The reality is, though, this is just another task on top of my already very busy schedule. So I can't be that person that moderates for other people all the time, or sits in the group all day. It's not going to be sustainable for me. So can you start your Whatnot shows with no followers? Or I think, yes, you could, just mainly because there are people poking around on the app looking to buy things, and they're looking to grow and build the community. So you could host a show. You will have people pop in. But I think if you are really wanting to make it profitable and sustainable in the long term, you are going to have a following, and you are going to have to bring a following from your social media if you have it. Will it always be like that? It's hard to say, but I think right now that's kind of the nature of what we're dealing with, because people want what they don't have, right? And I use Clubhouse as an example, right? Remember when Clubhouse first came out, and the only way that you could get in is if somebody sent you a personal invite, and current users only got so many personal invites every day or whatever. So like everybody wanted in because they couldn't get in, right? And now that Clubhouse, anyone can really use it. Yes, people are using it. People are successful on there, and it's a great tool in the capacity that it is for who's using it. But is every single person that wanted into Clubhouse because they couldn't get in, do they still use the app? No, I'm not on Clubhouse. I found that it's not for me once I was in there, and so it is what it is, right? And I think the same thing is going to eventually happen with this app. The other thing is those dollar auctions. You're going to see these people with 300 watchers in their auction starting things at $1, and they go up to 30, 40, 50 plus, right? That is also not really reality. You have to assume that if you start it at $1, it's going to sell for $1. I watched this one reseller, and I feel so bad. They were doing reseller bundles of 10 items, and they were starting them at $1, and they were selling for $1. And I don't care who you are, unless you got that stuff for free, you've lost money. And even if you didn't lose money, you've lost your time showing 10 items, starting an auction, and then having it go for $1. So do keep that in mind. If you are starting your auctions at $1, you might sell it for $1. Just know the risk. Know the risk. It is not reality that it's going to go have a bid war. It's just not, right? I think for me personally, I think this is a great way for me to offload inventory that's been sitting a while. So full disclosure, some of my inventory is stuff that's been sitting for a while. If people are on there buying to source from me, some of it has been listed. Now, I can't keep, obviously, once I cycle things out, I could probably do that maybe 2 or 3 times a year to have like almost like a clearance sale, or try auctioning the stuff I would have sent to ThreadUp first before I send it in. But I cannot have 2 Whatnot sales a week on inventory that I have currently. If I'm going to source for Whatnot, I cannot source at my regular Goodwills. Paying the regular price, I will never make a profit. So that is something I have to consider. Now, what I will maybe start doing, and I will update you guys as I make these decisions. I don't have bins, so I can't shop for those low cost of goods. But if I can maybe hit up my Dollar Day, or if I can find a thrift store like my Uptown Cheapskate where they have clearance sales or fill-a-bag sales, I could absolutely source for Whatnot that way. But even still, you've got people on there right now buying everything and anything, and I don't think that's going to sustain, like I said. So I also have to find that balance of, what's worth selling, what's going to make my customers happy, and your reputation's on the line too, because people rate you just like any other platform. And if they're not happy with what you're selling, if you put a bunch of stuff on there with flaws you don't disclose, it's going to reflect in your rating. So for me, I still have to find that balance of what's going to work, how many shows a week, what kind of themes am I going to do? Am I going to do plus size? Am I going to do shoes? Am I going to do, summer styles, fall styles? You have to kind of figure that out because you want your audience to be engaged. So that being said, again, these are my thoughts about Whatnot. Definitely drop me a comment if you have any other questions that I did not answer, or if you've been selling or buying on Whatnot. Let's make this a discussion. Let's talk about it. Let's really share with each other our experiences so we can learn from each other. If you're not already on Whatnot and you want that $10 credit, I do have my link down below. Or if you are on Whatnot and you want to just find me and follow me, I'll do my best to follow everybody back. So follow me on there and look for my live shows. If you want to just join me and see kind of my style and how I do things, you are welcome to join me in an upcoming auction. My next one is going to be the first week of July 2022 and beyond if you're watching this later. So again, subscribe to my channel if you want more reseller tips and you want to follow my journey on Whatnot. I will talk about how it's going from time to time as well. Drop me a like if you're still here and you found this helpful. You're certainly a champ. I appreciate you sticking with me. But that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.